Hey there, Wolfpack fans. It's me again, Kenton Gibbs, bring you another episode of Locked On Wolfpack. And before we get into it, I got to tell you that today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, official sportsbook of Locked On. Make every moment more. Visit FanDuel.com/Locked On today to get started. Now, Grayson, you and I are going to be discussing this loss that we suffered in Cameron. And, we'll do the good, the bad, the ugly, the things that we take away from this, which are silver linings, the things we take away from this, which leave us shaking our head and scratching our head, and some things that we've talked about going into this that just, they reared their ugly head again. Does that sound like a good show to you?
Sounds like a good show to me. Not like the game, but the show at least.
Exactly. We're gonna vent. We're gonna be a little angry. We're gonna be a little happy. We're gonna talk about some things, all things Wolfpack basketball on today's episode of Locked On Wolfpack.
You are Locked On Wolfpack, your daily podcast on the NC State Wolfpack. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
So, Grayson, we sit here today looking at a loss that, of course, again, this was a potential quad one win that we could not come away with in Cameron as we lose to the Blue Devils in a competition that was, it was very close. We covered the spread, which had us as 6.5, I believe, point underdogs. We covered the spread, but we didn't get the win. 71-67. Initial thoughts and reactions to this game.
Oh boy. Extremely frustrating because from what I saw tonight, and I guess if you want to go back to January too, this basketball season, we are better than Duke. I truly believe that. I think we have a better team all the way around than Duke does.
Yeah.
And I thought we gave one away tonight. I thought we had plenty of opportunities to leave Cameron with a win and just couldn't execute, didn't shoot well. I know Cameron Indoor is kind of the house that Coach K built, but I think we put in a nice lovely addition in the building with the amount of bricks that we laid tonight from three. So frustrating, very frustrating. I mean, rebounding, you knew that was going to be an uphill battle. I thought we left a lot on the table there. We did okay, but just not the level we needed to come out with a win. And then, a lot of people I think are going to hone in on the foul discrepancy here. I'm not so concerned about the fouls. I thought we fouled too much. I thought we had some very stupid fouls that were warranted. We can talk about the tech that Terquavion got. I thought that was ridiculous. And that
was one of the worst techs I've ever seen. That was, and I'm a Pistons fan. I saw the Rasheed Wallace staring down the ref tech, and I was like, okay,
yeah, no, that was
up there with that one.
That was completely ridiculous and a complete overreaction. But I still want to point out that why is Terquavion shoving him over and over and over again? Like, should it have been a technical? No. Did he flop? Absolutely yes. But if you're Terquavion, you can't afford to put yourself in that situation from the jump. So that was frustrating, especially because Duke went on, I think it was a 7-0 run immediately following that tech. When we were punching back with them. Up until that point in the first half, it was very even. Everything that they were hitting, we could come back down the floor and reciprocate. So that was tough. And then, I thought, Jarkel was outstanding tonight. But I think because no one else could really provide, Jarkel and DJ, no one else could really provide. And so we just kind of sat back and we're like, okay, Jarkel, I guess if we're going to win tonight, you have to do everything. Well, that's not going to work. It's just not going to work. And I am going to point some fingers, not quite yet. We'll get to that in just a second. But I'm going to be emotional, and I will point some fingers. But, the good was Jarkel tonight, outstanding. He's truly been carrying our team lately. I'd say the pretty good was DJ. I thought, he was struggling to get some calls that really never came for the most part, but I thought he fought anyway. I thought he played a pretty decent basketball game. Also in the pretty good category, I'd throw Jack Clark in there. He picked up a couple cheap fouls in the first half, but came back strong. He was one of our most important players alongside Jarkel in the second half that contributed to what was almost a comeback there at the end. And then the ugly, that was Casey Morcell, and that was Terquavion Smith tonight. Not good. Not good. Just flat out not good. And I would go as far to say as for Terquavion in particular, it's a bit embarrassing because he is supposed to be A, the most talented player on this team, and B, a leader for this team. And tonight, he was neither in a game that we really needed him to be. And we've mentioned it the last couple episodes. He's been a repeat offender in that sense. He is severely struggling right now. And did he cost us the game by himself tonight? No, but he was pretty close to earning that segment, unfortunately. So frustrating. I'm going to let you have at it now. Go ahead.
I very strongly disagree.
Okay.
I think that Terquavion did cost us the game single-handedly.
Oh.
And let me tell you why. It's not just the lack of scoring output. It is, what is one of the main things that I've always said I've either given him direct praise or direct criticism for? When his shot is not falling, how do you affect the game? That's the question. I said that was the thing for him because last year he never had a shooting slump that was this bad for this long. So in my mind, you carry on with what you did freshman year. You build upon that to some degree. You have better players around you to make defenses have to worry about more because no disrespect to Terry Henderson and company. No disrespect to those guys. I'm sorry, not Terry Henderson. Terry Henderson was well before him. Who is it that I'm thinking of? Light-skinned guy from Battle Creek. He was the leader. Devin Daniels. No disrespect to Devin Daniels and company. They're not the same type of threat. You didn't think the same type of things. No disrespect to the guard that transferred to LSU, Cam Hayes. No disrespect to him. You don't have the same type of pressure defensively when Cam Hayes is coming up the court with the ball that you do when Jarkel has it, which alleviates some of the pressure on Terquavion. And yet your splits are worse with better talent around you. You didn't have a Jack Clark coming off the bench last year. The Casey Morcell that we're seeing this year mops the floor with the Casey Morcell from last year. The table is set for you to eat, and you're knocking food all over the floor, son. That's what's happening. That's what's happening. And I know some people are going to say, well, Ken, there were all these other things that in a 4-point loss, a player that is averaging 17 points per game puts up 8, and you're going to tell me that doesn't make a difference? Well, okay. Again, with me, what I always say about the Terquavion, what do you do in the other parts of the game, right? No blocks, no steals, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, but 2 turnovers to match. I'm sorry. You did not affect the rest of the game positively enough for me to look up and say, oh, yeah, it's clear. It's clear that even though his shot is not falling, he's positively affecting the game. And so if your shot ain't falling and you're having a tough time getting things done in terms of all of the other parts of the game, and again, this ain't a blame Terquavion thing because you're right. There is plenty of blame to go around. But I just think that you can and that he should, as the leader, look at himself and say to himself, the team was rolling in positive momentum until that technical foul. Again, is that affecting the game positively? It's a terrible tech. I'll give him that. Sure. What did you do to galvanize the team after that? There was a point where there was a loose ball where he and some player from Duke, I can't remember who the player were, but they were on the ground tussling for the ball, and they were holding on to this ball for dear life, and they were going back and forth about the ball. Baby, this ain't football. They're going to call a jump ball, and the possession arrow is going to send it one way or the other, period. That's what's going to happen. There's not 22 men on the field near that ball, on the court near that ball. There's 10 of you, and more likely than not, there's even less of that. And in this particular scrum, there was you and one other player. What are you doing all that wrestling and tussling for the ball for? And then when he gets up, DJ Burns has to give him a mouthful to kind of tell him, hey, dude, you got to calm down. So I'm not saying that this is just on Terquavian. I'm not saying that, but I am saying that you can argue that he single-handedly, again, that man has been so cold this month. They don't even need AC when the Wolfpack comes to town or when we're in the PNC because he alone is going to drop the temperature in the room about 5 to 10 degrees automatically. However hot you are, don't worry about it. Just get closer to Quavian. You'll cool off a little bit. So, that's what I look at in terms of the bad. And I'll be back with some good because I never want to leave you with just bad. But before I get into the good, I've got to talk to you all about FanDuel, folks. This is the midway point of the NBA season. It's here. And now's the perfect time to download FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because new customers get a no-sweat first bet of up to $1,000. That's bonus bets back if your first bet doesn't win. Just download the FanDuel Sportsbook app. It's safe, it's secure, it's easy to use. And then you can bet on everything from the money line to point scores to threes drained. Plus, FanDuel even lets you combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payout with the same game parlay. So don't miss the chance to get your no sweat first bet of up to $1,000 in bonus bets when you go to FanDuel.com/lockedon. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon to learn more. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. Now, Grayson, when I look at the good, DJ Burns, Jarkel Joyner obviously fall into the good. They obviously fall into the good. They're still performing, still doing things at a high level. That's what I like to see. But another thing that I would say is good. Jack Clark has been a revelation off the bench as of late. He's playing at a level that had he been playing like this all season, he would have been a shoe-in for ACC Sixth Player of the Year. Like not even a if and a but about it. And granted, I understand that most of it was he was out because of injury, but he's been a revelation. And here's another thing that we must tip our caps to do, because sometimes you got to tip your cap and say, it is what it is. I do agree that NC State as a whole, average game, average day, you don't never know what happens. You just select these two teams and say play at a neutral site or play at the PNC. NC State is a lot better than this team. This Duke team is one of the first Power 6 conference teams ever to have their first year head coach go undefeated at home. So, while, yes, I do agree we are the better team. Yeah, I do agree. Again, random moment, random, ACC tournament or just a random drop us off anywhere. It is an early season Maui Invitational type deal. I think we win the game. However, that is a different team in Cameron. And again, they're undefeated in Cameron. This loss sucks. You don't want this loss, but you live with a loss to a team that hasn't lost at home all year.
Yeah, and you mentioned it in the last episode that, Duke has kind of benefited from, I guess, a weaker schedule here in February, and they're kind of starting to play their best basketball of the year, I guess at the right time for them. They're starting to heat up as we're getting into postseason play here in a couple weeks. But again, I just really felt like this game was extremely winnable in all facets of the game. Overall, I thought our defense was pretty good, probably more so in the first half than the second half, but I thought it was pretty okay. We were forcing them like deep into the shot clock a couple times, forcing some bad shots that they were able to miss, and we would come away with the rebound. But I thought, especially, I guess in the second half, like right away in the second half, they came out and threw a couple punches, and we looked like we were still sitting in the locker room. We weren't ready for it. So that was a bit irritating because I thought we had built enough progress that we're able to stay in the game and punch back. But I just thought there were too many lapses at times. Roach, he was getting whatever he wanted on DJ, which is a bit surprising. He was kind of weaving in and out and flipping it underneath of him. But hey, credit to Roach. He hit some tough shots and they went in. We had some tough shots and they did not go in. So ultimately, I think that was the overall difference in this game. We just didn't hit enough shots. So as frustrating as it is, That's basketball sometimes. So
Yeah, and you look at this game, and another one of the things that I say is a good is our perimeter defense in terms of defending the three. Yes, we might have overplayed some players and got blown right by, but to force them to go 2 of 19 from deep is a pretty big deal. That's a pretty big deal, and we've talked about this all year how well we defend the 3-point line. I'll tell you what, if we can shore up the interior of our defense, if we can find ways to kind of manufacture more or better interior defense or better on ball defense in terms of stopping dribble penetration, because when it comes to stopping teams from shooting threes, we're one of the best in the nation at it. But what happens when they put the ball on the floor? How good are we then? We've had many a game where we look good at that as well, but this was not one of those games. Like you said, Jeremy Roach got what he wanted when he wanted. It was like, I mean, we must have looked like the best Whopper at Burger King because he was having it his way whenever he wanted, when he wanted in that paint. And so, it's one of those moments where you kind of, I understand that DJ Burns got a little bit of foul trouble and became apprehensive towards fouling and whatnot. And I get it, that you see the call like the one that went against Ebenezer Dewana where he's got complete verticality. Duke player literally leaps into his outstretched arms and gets a foul call. I get that. But at the end of the day, the game is the game, baby. You still got to play through it. You got to play it. Hey, play on, man. Things happen. So what? What's next? So, that's kind of what I walk away from this thinking. And with that being said, before we get into the ACC tournament, are any final thoughts or anything else that you wanted to touch on from this game that we hadn't gotten into yet?
Yeah, so I also, touching back on the defensive end, I thought we defended Filipowski pretty well. He's one of their main contributors. He finished 2 of 11. Now, he had 11 points. 7
Yep.
of those were at the charity stripe. So I thought we did a pretty good job on him. I thought that a couple instances of him getting to the line were a bit questionable. Like you just mentioned, there was one on Duana. I think there was one on Burns where, I mean, to me, at least, I'm sitting here and Durham is 30 miles away. It looked like we're about as straight up and down as we could have gotten and still had the call go against us. That's basketball sometimes. You got to play through. So as frustrating as that was, I thought we defended him pretty well. As honestly, the others too. Lively, he didn't do a whole lot of anything except rebound, which, that was a gaping hole against us. But I was very unimpressed by Duke offensively. I thought what they got, we basically gift wrapped them on a silver platter. I don't think that they were spectacular. Like, for example, Clemson, they were just creating and hitting the whole time on Saturday. Did not feel this way against Duke. We kind of gave them whatever they got, and then we kind of squandered what we had. So I don't know. It is what it is. It's very frustrating, and it's a tad bit nerve-wracking, being that this was our last regular season game, and now we just have to sit still for a little bit over a week now because ACC play starts toward the end of next week. We're done for the regular season. We don't play this weekend, which is good, I guess, in the rest department, but feels like we're giving the committee some material against us, which as a State fan, I think I speak for a lot of people when I say we'd rather that not happen because of, our history in that sense. But as it stands now, I think we're still in the tournament despite losing 2 in a row here. I think it goes without saying that we absolutely need to win at least one game in the ACC tournament. Still going to have to figure out who that's going to be. I believe if everything holds exactly how it is now, I think it's the winner of, I want to say, Florida State and Notre Dame. Don't want to count anybody out, but that feels like a game we have to have. And then from there on out, it's a dogfight. So we're going to see what happens. It would have been super nice to have this one on Tuesday night. Couldn't get it done, but gotta just get ready for what's coming forward.
I got to give Coach Keats credit for something. I don't believe in moral victories. This team fought well, but that's not what I'm going to give him credit for because that's the minimum. I expect that, one thing that my head coach in high school, Thomas Widger, told me is at Cass Tech, we don't coach effort. We don't coach energy. That needs to be there from the first snap to the last. That needs to be there. However, I need to give Coach Keats credit. because all of Coach Keats' tenure, I've been screaming what as my biggest criticism of him. Talk to me, Grayson. What's been my biggest criticism of Keats?
Running set plays.
Running set plays. I need to see a set that this team has dedicated to memory. They actually ran a good amount of set plays.
We did.
They ran a good amount of set. It wasn't ISO ball, and the set plays were getting us good looks. I mean, that the double screen that they gave to Terquavian that turned into a double screen for Casey Morcell coming in right behind him, where Terquavian was the decoy, Casey was the actual shooter. That I looked at it and I said, "Hold on now, wait, where did we get this one from? Where'd this come from? Where I haven't seen this." The set that they ran where I believe it was a very similar motion, but when DJ set the screen, he rolls to the free throw line area and is going to get the ball with the ability to either face up or get to work in the post against whatever defender is on him. I don't like that play very much because it gives teams an easy way to double team DJ, which I don't think is a great idea with who he is and how he is. I just don't think it's a great idea to give teams a basic fielder's choice, if you will, of how to double them. I don't think that's a very smart idea, but it's a set play. It's a set play. And I'm like, hold on. We've got sets now. This is a thing. We're not just doing, kind of dribble around and, you set a pick and roll and, maybe pick and pop. We'll see what we can get, try to get some dribble penetration. See what we got set plays. And
I thought we generated a good amount of pretty solid looks. They just weren't falling for us. It's one thing if we're jacking up wild things all night. I thought, per usual, Terquavion was a little bit of a suspect of that, and even some Casey Morcell as well. But outside of just a couple instances, I thought the looks we were getting were good looks. We were running enough, pick and roll, screen, just ball movement, cutting to get create looks that we're looking to have. Just didn't put the ball in the bucket. So tough.
Absolutely. And the one thing that I always enjoy about tournament time is that the whistle tightens up for everybody. Because NC State, and this is the beauty of it. Yeah, we don't get the calls during the regular season. Absolutely not. Sure. But you know what's the fun part of that is? DJ Burns is now learning to play through. There will be an immense amount of contact. You will not get a call. So what? These other guys from these other schools, they're not going to be ready for that tournament whistle where it's like, no blood, no foul. They're not going to be ready for that. DJ Burns is going to be like, oh, this is a slow Tuesday for me. This is what life is like for me. This is where I live. This is how I enjoy things. So, that's to be coming up as well. But we're about to land this thing. But before we do, we're going to get a quick word from our sponsors. So, all in all, the regular season is officially over, and we'll have a full episode somewhere in this next week to talk about how we feel about the regular season in depth. But just off the cuff, without, having time to fully examine and look back through the entire regular season, how do you feel about this regular season?
I think, as I guess it's hard to talk about it now and during a couple losses here at the very end, but I think the only way you can look back on the regular season is that it was an absolute success. The righting of the ship from what we experienced last year to have the most regular season wins, I believe it's since 1988, 89, the most regular season wins since Jimmy V was still coaching here at NC State.
Don't give up.
What a regular season for Kevin Keats and the Wolfpack. I think you can't emphasize enough how great the transfers have been. The Jarkel, Jack, DJ. I mean, the life that they have injected back into our program in such a short amount of time is nothing short of incredible. We're sitting here. March 1st is, I guess, tomorrow. March 1st. Oh my gosh. March 1st is tomorrow, and we are talking about NC State in the NCAA tournament again. We have not been able to do that in 4 years, 5 years.
No.
And we are on the verge of making it back. So it feels so good to have a team to desperately want to win and desperately follow, and they're fun, and they have such a love for each other on and off the court. Something that we have wanted so badly the last 4 or 5 years and probably beyond. We have now this season. So what a ride that it's been. I hate that we have to sit on our hands now for 7 or 8 days because we don't play until the ACC tournament again. But what a ride it's been.
Absolutely. I agree. I look at this regular season and I say it's been a stunning success. And I'm gonna tell you, some people are gonna hate that I say this. Jaquavian Smith still has money to make. He should probably come back. He has a ton of money to make.
I mean,
Again, unless he goes nuclear in the tournament, there is a lot of money to make because, if you look at this game in particular, you show a lack of poise, a lack of maturity, the lack of ability to I don't think anybody is expecting you to come in and be a leader right away, but people are going to come in and expect you to be a pro right away if you're going to the NBA. And what are we doing if your older teammates are having to pull you to the side and say, hey, dude, get it together, and all that good stuff. And, you trust that, oh, yeah, our team has good veterans and we'll make sure that you go the right way. But if you're only counting on teams with good veterans, you to be available for, the new NBA is younger than it's ever been. The veterans are getting pushed out quicker than they've ever been. So guess what? That's a good chunk of the league gone right there. That is a good chunk of the league gone in terms of who can draft you, where you can go, simply because. And again, this isn't a knock on Jaquavian in terms of I don't like you personally. They ain't saying that. This is an honest opinion of him. Again, I've said that, with Drake Thomas, there was nothing he could gain from coming back to NC State. We've seen him be one of the best pass rushers in the league. We've seen him have 3 interceptions and all that good, 3-4 interceptions on the season, all that type of good stuff. We saw it. We saw him a 100-plus tackle guy. There's nothing he could gain to come back. Jaquavian has more money to be made by showing my freshman year wasn't a fluke, and this is not who I am. Because even if we say, well, hey, you've just had a bad February, on this season, even before February, he was slightly less efficient than what he was his freshman year. Again, with better pieces around you, with a better situation to eat, it just didn't happen. So, honestly, I look at this regular season, I say a lot of good happened. A lot of good happened here. And I'm excited to see where we can go in terms of these tournaments. And again, we'll be bringing in an episode next week where we fully delve into, breaking down what the season was in review in terms of regular season and what we're looking at in terms of the ACC tournament up ahead. Thank y'all so very much for coming out, Wolfpack Nation. We appreciate you every single time. Peace and love, y'all. And as always, go Pack.
Go Pack.
You are Locked On Wolfpack, your daily podcast on the NC State Wolfpack, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.